Well, hello everyone, hello. Let's get started with the show. So, I hope, I suppose you're familiar with the stuff that happens on this channel. And guys, I tell you what. I just switched the camera and my nicest equipment on, and I'm about to give you just a current take of my useless activities, my self-recording session, I should say. And I thought, why not to bring you some new stories of my unheard stories of my childhood, of my children years, I should say. And I just decided randomly to do that. And I also the thing that I adore my new delivered microphone, and I'm just to challenge in this newly arrived microphone for what time in a row, maybe the eighth time in a row, and I adore the sound that it makes. And the whole point of making this video is not a sound, it's not an image, it's not the picture what I'm doing in front of you. I'm about to sound out new recently learned English native materials the way I can, and after that I'm about to revise those nice speeches of mine, and to check how I sound, how I feel while I'm speaking, and how I'm able or not able to produce right English sounds just in an impromptu way without having any script in my head. And it's kind of selfish and too self-loving activity, I should say, and you may quit it in any time you want, just to spare some more precious volume inside your heads, inside your brains, I should say, instead of listening to my deepest ramblings. And if you are still with me, then I'm gonna give you a kind of couple of stories. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll give you kind of not a couple of stories, but let's say, I don't know, maybe 3 or several stories about my children years again. It would be only interesting, excuse me, in terms of how I sound in English and how I will be able to just use any grammar points correctly or not correctly. We'll see how it goes. So anyways, let's get started. Let's cut to the chase. And guys, for the starters, I tell you what, I was around, I don't know, maybe 9 years old, and I was growing up in my nicest vicinities, in my nicest neighborhoods, with those homeboys and homegirls surrounding me all the time. I was out, I was in my apartment, and we were making parties. We were drinking later on when I grew up at the age of 18, and previously at the age of 8 years old I was not drinking at all. I was just like having fun out of life, and I lived high, I should say, in a way, as a child could only live high in my early days. And please bear all this shit with all this my deepest ramblings, and I just wanna get this show on the road as is, without any just explanation, excuses, you know what I'm saying. And that's my world, that's my channel, that's my speech, and please bear all this shit that is happening right now in front of your own eyes. And that's me for you, that's my shtick, I should say. And let's commence, let's cut to the chase, let's get into the story itself. And the first story was kind of, I was doing what? I was just doing nothing, as always, in my children years, and I was around 8, as I said, and we were making our just nicest trip to the tiles producing factory, and we made our way to the tiles producing factory, and that was illegal activity because no one was allowed to stay inside the territory of that factory. And we were children, we were caring about nothing at the time, as you might relate to what I'm saying. You were a child also, and you might relate. Follow the story if you were in the picture of the same activities, that you would probably relate to what I'm saying right now, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. And the story was, actually, we got into that factory, we just were about to pick some nicest tiny tiles, you know, those tiles, they decorated like the panels, the concrete panels of the apartment houses. The apartment houses in the 80s were made of like concrete blocks, solid, huge concrete blocks made of concrete, and they were decorated pretty nicely with the nicest tiles, tiny nicest tiles with a bright and variety of colors, and they were translucent, they were opaque, they were around like, I don't know, 20 types of variable different tiles, and the more we get those tiles, the more we would be able to get for ourselves, I should say, those nicest tiles. The more we were happy with that. It's kind of children thing, and to have those like nicest tiles in your hands, just to do whatever with those ones, and we had kind of game. We just throw it in the air, and while it whirls in the air, while it rotates, we are about to just grab it as tightly as we could, and with grabbing that tile, we were just doing another activities like throwing those nicest tiles into the poles, like in the ground, dug in the ground, or in our nicest neighborhood, in our yard, I should say, and we threw those tiles into the holes dug in the ground, and if we aimed perfectly at that hole in the ground, then we won the complete game. And the complete game was called like tiles, you know what I'm saying, just tiles, and just no other extra things but tiles. And the story I wanted to tell you was I was sitting in the metal-made container inside on the territory of that tiles producing factory. I was carrying only about picking around me some nicest tiles that I could reach with my hands, and I was cramming my nicest pockets with those nicest tiles, and I tried to grab as many tiles as I could, and I grabbed by my handful by my palms, and I packed pretty neatly my nicest pockets with those just adorable tiles. And I was about to jump out of that metal-made container, and there was a guard in that store that preserved the place of being influenced from being influenced by such a children like us, like we were, and this nice guy named a guardian of that factory, he put his nicest face into the hole on the upper part of that container where I was sitting in, and he frightened me, he intimidated me a lot, and I was kind of, wow, I was about to jump out of that nicest container, and I did, and I scared that guy to death. That guy was jumping off, and he was even more scary than I were, and I jumped out of that container, and I kind of made a long run to my home side, I should say, along with the friends of mine, and we were just spread around the territory of the nicest tiles producing factory, and we were yelling, screaming, and just messing up with all this shit, you know what I'm saying. And on our way home, we were reminiscing those moments, and we were just laughing and grinning at it in a huge way, you know what I'm saying. And that were our just children years, and that was the first story of my today's day. And the second story wasn't just enlightening as it was in my previous story, but the story actually was. What story would you like me to tell you for the second thing of today? Let's see. What shall I talk about today for the second story? Maybe the second story I would share would be like, I don't know. We were sitting at my apartment at the time. I was living on the 5th floor at the time, along with my parents, and we were having, as always, our nicest children party dedicated to my birthday. I should say, I was having my birthday party. I don't remember the year, maybe it was, I don't know, 1985 year or something. Maybe I was around 12 or 10 years old, and we were having my nicest party, and while our adults were having their huge bench in the room next to our room, in the room next to my room, while they were having our huge bench, us children, we were just trying to make a makeshift like home place named by some secret word, like makeshift, like makeshift 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 tent, like made of stools, like chairs, like veils, like whatever, pillows, like what else, different kinds of sticks and other known substances and materials which we had at my place at the time, like I don't know, maybe rugs, maybe flashlights, and we were sitting in that makeshift tent and we were discussing and we were telling each other horrible stories of our early days, like maybe someone had kinds of those nicest and horrible stories and connected to dead people, connected to cemetery related things, like I don't know, other shits that could probably happen, or just those ramblings related horrible stories of our childhood, like it goes without saying, you know. And that was the moment when we decided to go out on our balcony. And once we stepped out on the balcony, we decided just in no time to throw eggs and tomatoes on the passers-by, and we did, and we threw a lot of tomatoes, fresh, nicest tomatoes, and fresh and nicest eggs onto the heads of the passers-by. And the majority of passers-by, they just went away without any screaming, without any complaint on our nicest activities. And just one man appeared. He showed up in front of the door of my apartment, and he rang the bell, and my parents opened the door, and they saw those nicest people standing on our stairs outside my apartment, in front of my door, and they were telling my parents what we did, that we threw tomatoes on their heads and we threw eggs on their heads. And my parents just told, they were like, it can be true, our nicest children just couldn't do that. It wasn't them who did that stuff, you know. We can't believe that could happen. They were just giving just a bunch of justification and excuses why that might not happen in our nicest apartment, and they were defending us in a way. And nevertheless, that were us who did that horrible shit and stuff like that. And that was my second story of today. I hope you enjoyed the story, and you may share the story of mine with your friends and bring this shit further into the world and lay this shit into someone other's ears and spread that shit out. I would be pleased to hear that stories from someone else. Okay, guys, I'm done for today. I'm fucking weird. I wanna have a rest. I wanna do nothing, and that's my recap of today. That's my story of my childhood. Please bear with all the shit that happened that you heard just right now, and that's been me for you. I'm Alex. I'll be forwarding my activities as soon as I can, and just have a good night. Have a nice sleep, and take care. See you all in a while. Bye.